The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to our latest Best Practices webinar. Today's is a very unique one, special one. It's called From the Front Lines, School Bus Drivers Discuss Being on the Road Again. We're really excited to feature some school bus drivers who are going to share their experiences as they get ready for the new school year. We're going to give everybody about a minute to file in, so we'll be back around 1:01. See you shortly. All right, let's get this party started. My name is Rick DeRico. I am the Director of Public Relations at Transfinder, and just excited about today's webinar. A couple quick things I want to mention before I introduce our panelists is that today's webinar is being recorded, as they all are, so you can always find these at transfinder.com. We have it on our homepage. It'll scroll through and you'll see our best practices icon. The other thing is that we will not be able to hear you, but we're monitoring our this webinar for questions that we may have. And so, Laurie, nice to see you. We haven't started yet, but we will be introducing you shortly. But so if you have questions, we really want you to bring in your questions. We'll go to those as quickly as possible. One of the things that I really why this is important is that the school bus drivers have really been on the front lines really since March, when food delivery was taking place, Wi-Fi delivery was taking place, school supplies, and then even the school parades. And so now they're getting ready. Everyone's talking about social distancing on school buses and what's that going to look like, and our school bus driver is going to be wearing masks. And there's been a lot of things talked about the school bus driver, and we felt that it was really important to why not bring in some school bus drivers and allow them to speak. So I'm going to introduce our panel and have them come on camera, and then I want to read a couple quick things, and then we'll jump right into our questions. So, without further ado, I'd like to ask Tom to come on camera. Tom Dubois, Belinda Govich, Dan Hanley, Laurie Kearney, Kristi May, and again, I'm Rick DeRico. Thank you all so much for joining us as we get close to, it is crunch time for all of you. So I just want to thank you again for taking time out. Kristi is actually, and Dan, by the way, we're going to hear him. He's a voice in the distance. So thank you, Dan, as well, for joining us. And Dan, because you're not on camera, I cannot look at you and pick on you. So if you hear something someone is saying or you want to jump in, please feel free to do that as well. I just want to warn everybody as well. Thank you, Dan. Warn everybody as well that with technology, sometimes there is a couple little hiccups. There can be a slight delay. And so I know that no one's being rude here. We have just a great group here. And so if we step on each other a little bit, it's unintentional. So that's that. I'm going to just move my questions out here so I can be monitoring the questions, because I know this one we're probably going to get a lot of questions from folks. All right. So before we begin, I want to read one thing that was in today's Philadelphia Inquirer about school bus drivers specifically. And so, of course, when you do more than one thing at once, you know the story. All right, here we go. Sorry. All right, very good. All right. They say dead air time is not a good thing, but all right. This is why all right. So here we go. So this is a headline in the Philadelphia Inquirer. It's called "Getting Kids to School Safely in a Pandemic is One Thing, Retaining Bus Drivers is Another." As school districts try to figure out whether they can reopen safely for in-person classes during a pandemic, another complication lies ahead: how to get kids to school. Keeping kids safe on school buses involves many now familiar safety practices: enhanced cleaning, blocked off seats, face masks, for example. It's still unclear how many kids will need school buses daily. About 1.5 million in Pennsylvania were transported by school buses daily in recent years, according to the State Department of Transportation. But that figure will no doubt change as more districts begin the year virtually and parents consider driving kids to school themselves. These unknowns create serious questions about the future of school bus drivers. A group of already, we know that this is already a group that is facing shortages. We're really concerned about that because we don't believe we'll get those drivers back, says Mike Burke. He's the executive director of the Pennsylvania School Bus Association. We think they'll move on, and that's going to take an already depleted workforce and create real problems potentially down the road. But when we talked yesterday, my panelists and I, you guys are very upbeat. Yes, you see some challenges, and we want to get into that. But I think everybody who's on this call who will hear you speak, I think will be inspired at your optimism and your just upbeat attitudes, and I think people will be motivated by that. So without further ado, I'm going to start off. I'm going to start with Dan since I don't see him. I don't want to forget him. And you guys can remind me, hey, Rick, Dan's on the line. I'm okay with that. I'm going to start with Tom, and I'm going to work from Tom, Kristi, Belinda, and Laurie after Dan.
We still have plenty of pizza if you're still hungry. Please come to the cafeteria and get more pizza.
I don't know who that is. So that's someone on our panel. You guys can just mute when you hear that. Start with you, Dan. Tell us a little bit about you, how long you've been driving, who you drive for, and just that setting kind of, and then we'll go around the.
Get the interruption, but we still have more pizza left. So if you're.
All right. Okay. So Dan,
good morning. Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about yourself. How long you've been driving, and who do you drive for?
Well, I've been with Brown Transportation here in Scotia, New York for since of August '96. I've been working for Schenectady City School District here ever since. So love it, doing it.
And are you eager to get back?
We're getting ready to open for the 18th of September.
Super. And you're excited, it sounds like.
Yes, I miss the kids.
Good. All right, we already have one wise guy, by the way. David, I hear you. David says he wants more pizza. So he heard of the pizza announcement on the, it made me a little hungry too, David. All right. So Thomas, we'll go with you, and then we'll work our way around the horn here. Tell us a little bit about you, how long you've been driving, a little bit about your district, where you are.
This will be my third year driving. I retired from a job in the advertising industry. I work for Honeoye Falls-Lima School District. It's a suburb of Rochester, and about 2,300 students. It's a big district, so between my morning and afternoon run, I put about 80 miles on the bus.
Very good. Kristi?
Hi, I have been employed as a substitute bus driver for about 8 years now. I work full-time inside the school. We start in 2 days, yes, 2. Our district is a K through 12, has about 165 square miles. I'm in West Central Illinois by Quincy, Illinois.
Super. Thank you so much. Belinda? You're muted.
That better.
There you go.
I have been driving since 2008. I actually started in New Jersey, and now I'm in upstate New York at Shenendehowa. We have about 10,000 students. And right now, currently, I'm in the routing office and the dispatch office, and I would really rather be in a bus. So they have their work cut out for them in there. So
Yes. Thank you so much. And Laurie?
Yes, I drive for Pembroke. I'm going on my 19th year. We're a rural district, probably about 1,000 students. We go back, as the employees go back the 8th, the kids are going to come back the 14th.
And you have a unique distinction because you actually are driving in the district that you took the bus when you were a kid.
Yes, I actually live 2 miles. I've lived here 58 years. I drive my own route that I used to ride the bus when I went to school. I ride my bicycle around the route with my friend here. She had her shoulder replaced. I had my knee replaced. That's our therapy. We see our kids, and it's wonderful. It's wonderful. We're waiting for them to come back to school. We miss them.
That's awesome. I told everybody, I won't bore you all with my sob story. I told the panelists that yesterday about my hour and a half bus ride every morning, and then my hour and a half bus ride home every night, and how we really needed really good routing software because it was a long trip. So I just want to start a little bit about how this school year is looking. And so for starters, let's just talk about when is school opening for you and what does it look like? And, in terms of, are you thinking that you're going to have a reduction in the number of students you're transporting? Anyone can take that, or I can start picking people. But anyone want to jump in and talk about, well, let's just start first of all with Kristi, since you're opening in 2 days, just in case you have to run out the door. We want to get you. You're opening up in 2 days. What does that look like?
It's looking honestly pretty good. We have approximately 520 eligible students that we can transport if needed. We have about 8 buses. I sub-drive for all of them. Our ridership seems to be about down 8%. And that's in between remote learning, homeschooling, and parents just deciding to bring their children.
Okay. How about the rest of you? Dan, what's it look like for you?
We really haven't, our district really hasn't been, they've been switching a lot. So the numbers haven't come in really yet.
So it's still very fluid.
Yeah.
Okay. Belinda, you're shaking your head. Is that the same with you? Or Tom, sorry, we'll go to you in a second, Thomas. But Belinda, is that the case with you too? Or what does it look like for you in the fall?
Yeah, they have the option to come in or do virtual. So we've been getting a lot of opt-outs right now. So we're processing them. I think we were about a little over 700 of people who were not going to require transportation. So it's kind of like a wait and see when you get to the stop and who's there kind of thing is what we're doing.
Okay. Tom?
We start on the 8th. Per our plan that we put out, we're going to be about 2/3 capacity on the bus. Last I heard, I think we may be adding a bus since there's less ridership. It seems to me I've heard there's about 300 students that will not be riding the bus between people not going to school and people not needing a ride. So the plan itself is K through 6 is 5 days a week, and older students will do every other week.
Okay. And how about you, Laurie?
Every day we're going to go. We start the 8th, the employees start the 8th, the children start the 14th. We had 78% parents want to send their kids to school. The ones that choose to homeschool them do so for a 10-week period. And 54 to 64% of the children are going to ride the bus. And like Belinda said, it's kind of a hit and miss if you stop. But they have to be, if they choose to keep them home, they have to keep them home for a 10-week span. And then they can send them the next quarter.
Is that true for the rest of you?
Yes. Yeah, if they choose to opt out, they can opt back in, but they have to give us at least one semester.
One semester.
At home, and then they can opt back in for the next one.
Okay.
We're giving ours a 2-week trial period of the remote. They can come in if they decide to after that 2 weeks.
Okay.
After that, it's a quarterly thing after that.
Okay. But it's not something like they go a few days and then it could be changing every day. It's not going to be like that. You want to have kind of a systematic approach to this. I want to get into some very specific information about, drivers wearing masks and temperature taking and that kind of thing. But before I do want to talk a little bit about the spring. I was very moved by just how much school bus drivers you know, you really are the face of your districts. You know, you're going up and down every single street. You're wearing, you know, you're driving, you know, the best advertisement you can ever have, you know, the name of your school district up and down every single street. And you see the kids light up when they see you. And, you know, the parades, I was telling you yesterday about how we had a parade come by my house. And even though my kids are no longer in school, just how moving it was and how eager to, you know, to see the teachers and the coaches and the drivers waving and just so excited to see the kids. And then, you know, delivering of the food and the Wi-Fi, homework. I don't know if kids were really happy to see you deliver the homework, but maybe not, maybe yes. But can you just tell me a little bit about what the experience was once you had to close school down for you personally? Just tell me as a driver, what was that experience like, and then delivering food and trying to stay somewhat connected to your students.
I'll start. You know, like everyone else here, you know, we left on a Friday thinking we're going to be back on a Monday, and then all of a sudden it ended. So there was no goodbyes, any of that on the bus. So it was kind of a tough transition. You know, like the other drivers, I missed my kids a lot. Doing the lunches gave me an opportunity to see them again. At the end of the year, we actually, what would have been the last day of school, we drove around with the buses and got to say hello and goodbye to our students. So yeah, it was a bit of a transition for me, and that's why I tried to do as much of a lunch program and that just to plug myself back in.
That's great. Anybody else? Belinda, how was it for you?
Well, I like to keep busy. So at first it was kind of boring, and same thing. You didn't really get to say goodbye to anybody. It was kind of like we didn't know what was going to happen. And then it was, you know, on a Sunday night, you find out, yeah, we're closed. So it was a little upsetting. I did enjoy doing the food because, you know, at that time you feel so helpless too. You know, other people are, you know, might have it worse than you, but yet there's still nothing you can do for them. When you see them on the bus, at least you can, you know, make them smile or talk to them. And now you really couldn't do that anymore. And you knew that there were people at home that, you know, their home life might not have been that great, and you were that good constant for them. So being able to do the food was good because it made you feel like you were at least helping and doing something and contributing. So that was good.
That's awesome. Anybody else? Kristi, Laurie, Dan?
It was tough at first, you know. Like I said, she said we thought we were going to go back in 2 weeks, then a month. Then it kept getting put off, and it was just like you look for things to do to just keep yourself busy. Or as soon as the school asked, all of our drivers were there at the drop of a hat just to help out and do what we could do. And it was like you were missing your kids.
That's good. It's good to hear that. And I think that reassures everybody. This more than a job. I think I do really feel like, you know, we talk about that at Transfinder as well. You know, I think that it is a calling. There's a unique calling in doing this, and you feel purposeful. You know. You're really doing something important. You're literally transporting kids to school where they're going to get an education that's going to prepare them for the rest of their lives. And you're doing it in a way that we all know that the school bus is the safest vehicle, you know, to do that. So anyway, I appreciate that. All right. I wanted to just make sure we touched a little bit on the spring. So let's talk a little bit about what you are each doing in terms of reopening. What kinds of you know, face masks. Let's just start with that. Are kids going to be wearing face masks on the bus? Are drivers going to be wearing face masks on the bus? I'll start with Laurie. I'm gonna pick on you all, but you all can talk at any time. But Laurie, what's the situation at your school?
We will be wearing face masks, and the children will be wearing the face masks on the bus, and we will try to keep them to 6 feet apart. They'll probably sit every other seat and load from the back to the front, and then unload from the front to the back once they get off. We keep it very basic. We just follow the rules that we're given, and we try not to make it too complicated for our children.
That's good. And the driver's going to be wearing a face mask as well while he or she is driving?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Kristi, what's the situation for you?
Yeah, well, Illinois, of course, has issued their mandates like all the other states. We have a mandate that we're allowed 50 students per unit or 50 people per unit. The unit can be a gym or it can be a school bus. So we're pretty, good on the capacity side of a bus. The social distancing's what's going to be the hard part if you do have that many kids. Looks like most of our routes are running right about 35 kids per route. Masks will be required by the driver and the students. We also have temperature checks that must be done. The state gave us an option to have parents self-certify every morning before they get on the bus, or the driver is to do the temperature check at each stop. The districts in our area have chosen to do the temperature checks at each stop, which will a little nerve-wracking, I will say, especially our highway stops.
You have highway stops?
We do have highway stops. It's a rural highway, but it's still a major highway for our area of ways for people in our rural area to get into our largest city, which is mainly Quincy.
So as I was saying to you yesterday, and I'm going to go around the horn, by the way, so Belinda and Thomas and Dan, I'm going to get to you, but you are the first person I've talked to who is doing the temperature checks at the bus stop. So, some people feel like we really don't want our drivers having any other distractions or any other requirements other than focusing on driving and making sure the kids are getting on and off the bus safely. What you said you had some concerns. What are the concerns you have about the temperature checks at the bus stops?
Well, as with most bus drivers, you always have those that don't see the red lights to stop to begin with. If you have to temperature check 3 or 4 kids at one stop, it's going to be a longer wait for them, and people are just going to hurry to go. I'm a little concerned about that, the safety part of it. There's also, if the temperature, or if the child does have a temperature, the bus driver will call in, the supervisor will then call the parents if the parents have already left. And the bus driver will be waiting until the parent returns for that child. If they're under, I believe they have decided 3rd grade and under.
So that could be a major delay.
Mm-hmm.
Then it has a ripple.
Oh, definitely.
Okay. But that's the rule, so you're going to follow them the best you can.
Yes.
All right. Others about face masks, temperature checks, anything else you want to jump in? What's happening in your schools?
I think in our district, we are required to wear a mask. We will be social distance, but we will not load the front row. So when the children get on the bus and are in their seats, I think we will be able to drive with our masks lowered. So, which is a good thing because as everyone here has experienced, fogs up your glasses pretty good.
Yeah, you said that happened to you when you were driving, right, Tom?
Yeah. Yes, yeah, and I noticed that like when we were distributing food, I had a mask on for like 2 hours at a time, and yeah, on those sunny days it fog up, and so anyways, I'm grateful for that.
Good. Anybody else want to add anything?
Yeah, like we're the same. We are requiring our students to wear a mask as we are. Like Kristi, we're at about 50 to 75% capacity. Which is anywhere from 30 to 50 kids. We social distance as best we can, but not too much for us. With 10,000 students, it was just too difficult. Our team did about 20 different routing scenarios of what it would be like to social distance on the bus, how many buses we would need, and at one point we were at 200 buses, and we only have 123. So needless to say, that wasn't going to happen. So we're going to be cleaning buses after each load we drop off of students. The drivers will be wiping down our seats and our handrails and things like that before we pick up the new group.
That was a question from Kenneth who asked that. So you addressed that. So you're going to be cleaning your disinfecting your buses between every run?
Yeah, we'll be wiping them down, and then we're also going to be having them sanitized. So after we drop off a load of students, We have disinfectant spray that will be spraying down and wiping down handrails and seats and high touched areas, and then we'll pick up our next group. And then once we're done completely, we will park our buses, and we have people coming in that will be spraying them down to sanitize them before we go back out.
Okay, I see a lot of nodding heads. Is that pretty much the same for all of you?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Did they get
Yes.
training on that? Is there is there a certain way to do it to make sure you don't miss things or key areas that you got to make sure you catch? Or have you had training already, or will there be training? I know, Kristi, you're starting already in a couple of days, so maybe you already had training. Give me a sense of what they've done to help prepare you for that.
Our head of transportation, Bill Harvey, brought in, actually it was a representative from who we actually buy our cleaning supplies from, and we had a Zoom meeting. We split the bus drivers, did a couple of different meetings. Very interesting. I learned stuff about cleaning that I didn't really know. So that was great. And again, like the other drivers, we will be responsible for cleaning, but there'll be another crew that comes in to disinfect.
Oh, okay. Another totally different crew that will come in to do the disinfecting. Oh, at the end of the bus, at the end of the day.
End of the day, yeah.
Okay. So any of those cleaning tips you brought home with you? Is that what you're saying, Tom?
I did. The most interesting of which is you don't need to use hot water. Ideal temperature of water is like 85 degrees. So I didn't know that.
Even
Who
for
knew?
dishes? Like for washing dishes?
Yeah, no,
Really?
I know. So I told my wife she doesn't scold my hands by making it so hot when she's washing dishes.
Wow. That's awesome. That's great. Anybody else? Laurie, you look like you wanted to say something.
We were doing the same. We were just going to disinfect, and as a unit, we were going to meet before the first couple days, and we go over that, and we will do that too.
So, tell me a little bit about the mood. First of all, for you, how do you, did you have moments where you had any doubts that you thought, maybe I don't want to go back to driving a bus this fall? So just personally, what, you're obviously doing it and you want to do it, but did you have to work through anything to kind of come to that decision to go, and what's motivating you a little bit?
Well, I was excited to come back, and it wasn't the virus or necessarily health that concerned me. It was, all the regulations they were putting on us, like the social distancing on the bus and things like that. And for a district my size, I kept saying, oh my God, how are we going to do that? How are we going to do that? And then they would talk about like double backing and just crazy things, that's what started to make me have a little anxiety is how are we going to do it? Not necessarily, keeping everyone safe. Like I know I can do that. I know I can keep my kids safe. I know I can keep myself safe, but what are the logistics of it? That's kind of what was making me anxious.
Sure. That's a good point. Anybody else?
I think I'd have to agree with Belinda on that. The regulations, the mandates changing every other day. I mean, sometimes it was like hourly. And you'd just get a plan in place and you'd have to erase it off the board and start all over. And that was draining. That was exhausting.
Sure. Anybody else?
It teaches us as drivers how to be more flexible than what we were even before. And it just, like they say, it might change from now till the time we start school, day to day. So we go with whatever we're told, and we just do it and know that. And in our place, nobody gets too crazy over it's just, this is what we're going to do. And we try to keep it very basic, and we try to follow exactly what we're supposed to do and say, do the best you can with what you have.
Yeah, one of the words that comes up in almost all the webinars is that word flexible. And because it's so fluid and we're all kind of trying to figure this out, so that's a really good word there, Laurie. So how about some... Please, Tom, yes.
I was just going to say, I get a sense from other drivers, we'll do maybe a monthly Zoom meeting or whatever, that everyone else is ready to go back. And I think, what the other panelists have said about being nervous about all the regulations and all the changes is probably true. But I think overall, I mean, we didn't really lose any drivers, maybe one, but everyone's ready to get back and do the job that they love doing.
Well, that's actually a perfect segue. So right on cue, Tom. Thank you. Is I wanted to ask about your colleagues, and I think some of you did mention to me that some may not be coming back, and there was some concern. There were various reasons, but there were some. Overall, it sounded like everyone's coming back, or a majority of them are coming back. But give me a little of a sense of, let's be real here. What's happening in the bus garage with some of your colleagues that may not be coming back?
Well, we have, what we had to do is we had to change our bell times. So our routes are running a lot different than they have in the past, hours different. So we've lost, there's some people that have children who are now concerned with how are they going to work and still be able to put their kids on the bus and get to school. So I know of one driver that we lost that has small children for that reason, now has to stay home in order to either, do the virtual learning or put them on the bus. So that's one of our challenges right now.
That's a good point. Anybody else?
We lost a couple drivers, and they would be our subs, but then again, we don't know. Will there be sports this year or will there not? That takes out a whole another chunk of the pie there. And one of our monitors, due to her son's health, and we have a couple drivers that they're really worried about coming back due to their health. So, we just tell them make the best of it you can, and you can't stop a sickness.
Right.
So we just have to do the best we can with it.
How did your bosses, and I know a few of them, keep morale up, keep you engaged, keep you, one of the things that we talk about at Transfinder quite a bit is, the need to over communicate. Obviously, you got to do that in some balance, because with things changing every day, you could almost, drive people crazy. But the idea of keeping people in the loop and feeling still connected even while we're all apart. How did your supervisors keep morale up when it could be really devastating?
I mentioned
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Belinda.
We did videos. We would make videos. Some of them were, some safety refreshers and work refreshers, and then some were just fun, like, of buses saying how they miss their drivers and, just silly things. We actually reached out and called every single person, every single staff member, just to say hi and how you were doing. And then as things opened up and I would run into some of them in the store, they would say to us like how much that meant to them. And so we constantly, like either through emails or videos or phone calls, always tried to just keep in touch with them so that they knew, we don't forget about them and, we're thinking of everybody and that kind of thing, keep spirits up.
That's great. That's great. Tom?
Well, as I mentioned, we, monthly or depending on the month, if there's other reasons to do it, getting together in a Zoom meeting. I mean, I've been in Zoom meetings with 40 bus drivers. It's kind of an interesting way. These people with their flak jacket on going to the bus, and to see them in their home setting is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I kind of get the sense that I think we feel blessed as a district with the schedule of every other week for the older kids. I know early on when I was thinking 2 days on, 2 days off for this kid, I was sitting there going, oh my God, how am I going to remember that? So I think they feel the school district has done a pretty good job at making things smooth going back.
Good. Dan, how about you? I don't want to forget you. How's yours?
Yeah, it's been all right. It was kind of hard with not knowing what's going on. We lost a lot of drivers. A lot of drivers had to find other jobs. But a lot of them said they're going to come back, so we'll see when it happens.
Right, so a little bit of a wait and see. But how did your supervisor help kind of keep you and keep morale up among your team?
It was a lot of positivity around here. They try to keep us busy around the yard. Once a week, we're calling the employees, see how they were doing. Just keep them up informed of what's going on. So
Yeah,
we
that's one
try
of
to
the things
keep a
that.
reach out to them.
What's that?
Just trying to keep a reach out to them and see what's going on. Make sure I'm doing all right.
That's good. Yeah, one of the things that can really make people feel like disenfranchised, they can feel really anxious, or they can also let their imagines run wild is when you have like long gaps of time where there's no communication happening. It's kind of like a vacuum, and then people fill that vacuum with lots of things, and usually it's not accurate. So just that it sounds like what Dan just said in terms of that constant positivity and keeping people in the loop. Kristi, Laurie, anything you want to add to just how your supervisors kept morale up?
We would just, when we would deliver the kids their laptops, take them stuff from their lockers to clear their lockers out, we'd always have a pizza in the garage. We'd all sit there and discuss, and everybody that volunteered would come. It wasn't 100%, but we had a good turnout. And
pizza always gets a good turnout.
It is, and we even mentioned weekly Twister games, but I don't know, that could be dangerous, so we didn't do it.
Social distancing and Twister don't really go hand in hand. Or they literally do go hand in hand together, but whatever. Anything else, Kristi? Anything you want to add?
No, being a sub driver, I know our drivers did do meals. They did do homework drop-offs. We are a very small district. I mean, we have 8 buses and 1 supervisor, and we see each other constantly. It's just a really small community.
That's great. That's great. So a couple things I want to get into in terms of your outreach with the community. And I wanted to start with the idea that you may encounter some parents that may be frustrated with whatever. We talked about there may be some delays. Say you're doing a temperature check and there's an issue. Now all of a sudden the next bus stop is going to be that much more delayed. Or concern, just, parents who are anxious about their kids getting on a bus. Have you been talking with your district about how to communicate? Is there some unique communication skills you may need this year as you're dealing with parents than maybe previous years? So give me a little sense of what, how you think you're going to be approaching that maybe agitated or very anxious parent that maybe even wants to get on the bus. That I know that there's rules about that. So just give me a sense of how you're looking at approaching communication this year that may be different from past years. Belinda, you're shaking your head, so as the auctioneer, I'm calling on you first.
So we always are taught to, everyone just wants to be heard. That's usually what they really want. They're not looking to, scream and yell at you personally. They just want to be heard. So listen as much as you can, remain calm, and then just explain to them, you understand how they're feeling. You want to solve this with them, but you unfortunately are not the person that either makes these decisions or has these answers. Please call this number. My supervisor will be happy to help you with anything. But, I cannot discuss it now. I've got to get, all of these children to where they need to go, kind of thing. Try not to let anybody on the bus, obviously, and, just remain calm and be understanding.
Very good. Kristi, you made a little bit of a movement there too. Now you're
Great. Our parents are great. Our whole community knows each other. It's one big family. They're wonderful. Most of them probably have our own personal phone numbers in their phones, so you could get a call later. But just remember how you react to a situation is going to control how that situation's going to go. If you remain calm, they're going to get calm or be more calm, and a lot more can be accomplished that way. As far as parents approaching the bus, we don't have to deal with that, thank goodness, but they do know that they can call the school for any of their issues.
That's great. Tom?
Yeah, I've always felt like I have a good line of communication with my parents. Again, I think that will come in handy this year. One of the many reasons why it wasn't even a question whether I was coming back or not is yeah, I know there's concern with parents coming back, the great unknown, all that. You know, you pull up the first day and it's a face they know and whatever is going to be, I think, calming to them. You've established a line of trust over the past couple of years, in my case, and that will just kind of help, you know, some of the anxiety, hopefully. But yeah, I'm just going to have to listen more and you know, be firm on the rules that don't have the option of saying no to.
And you mentioned that you have the number that they need to call if they want to go further than that memorized for right.
It's on
It's on the back of my bus.
On the back of the bus. Very good. How about you, Laurie? Any other thoughts you want to add?
Just that our parents, we have great parents out here. It's just that they be patient with us. We're going into this blind just like they are. And it's like, you know what, this is just a day-to-day deal for us. And that's how if we have a problem and we can't answer the question, we'll just have them call our supervisor. And they're actually very good that they'll approach the bus, ask you the question. We give them the best answer we can, if we can answer it. If not, we just tell them to call our supervisor, and she handles it. She takes care of them, and we're lucky to be where we are. We have a good district.
That's great. You know, in line with that, and I think you touched on it a little bit, Laurie, you know, what is it that, so, you know, by the way, you know, like as I mentioned earlier, you know, this webinar is being recorded and it can be forwarded. It'll be up in a couple days. So maybe some districts might actually even use this as a tool to say, hey, you want to get a sense of what's going through school bus drivers' minds as we start school, take a look at this webinar. So in light of that, what would you like parents to know about specifically your job, your role, you know, what you're trying to do in terms of creating safety, bus routes? Belinda, you mentioned the various requirements now that were in the past. What do you want parents to know going into 2021 school year from the school bus driver angle? And I'll start with Kristi.
Well, Belinda mentioned it yesterday when we were chatting that we just want them to have patience. You know, we're struggling through this also, and it's going to be okay. I think the main thing that most of the parents in our district know is that when you put your child on the bus, they're my child. They're going to be as protected as I would protect my own child. And I know all of our parents know that, but it doesn't hurt to remind them sometimes.
That is such a good word. Wow, you got me a little teary-eyed, actually. But I cried kind of easily anyway, but that was... So, Belinda, so you made a reference to that. Want to piggyback on that a little bit?
Yeah, exactly what she said. You know, just be patient with us. You know, we need to remember to be patient with them as well. They're scared to go back. You know, yes, we've built great relationships with them, but it's still a scary time. It's a different time. So they're going to have other anxieties and apprehensions that they may not have had in the past. So we need to understand those and be compassionate to one another and empathetic, and realize that, you know, it's a difficult time for all of us. And Kristi's right. You know, that child is my child. You know, I have 50 children now, and I will treat each one of them as if they're my own and protect each one of them and do everything I possibly can to continue to make sure they get to where they need to get to safely every day.
That's awesome. That's very reassuring. I think that's exactly what they want to hear. You're not just saying it because it's what they want to hear, but trust me, that's exactly what I'd want to hear as a parent. Tom, what do you want parents to...
I mentioned the trust factor. I mean, the past couple of years, students that I've had year after year, they have a certain amount of trust on you, and that trust is that you're going to get them on the bus safely. You're going to have an atmosphere on the bus that isn't negative towards anyone. So there is that trust factor. I just would like to reiterate to them that same trust can be given me, that I'm going to take very seriously cleaning the bus after each run. I'm going to take very seriously making sure the students, you know, obey the rules to protect, you know, each other and myself, you know, actually. So I think this year I'll probably kind of hit on that a little bit more than I have in past years.
That's great. Laurie, anything you want to add? Or Dan?
I just, you know what? I just tell my kids, I try to do my part of the job and be responsible, and I expect them to do their part of the job and be responsible. And they're very receptive to that. I actually have a good bunch of kids that, you know, and they're going to have many questions, just like we're going to have many questions, and everything changes. So I'm just going to say, you know what, you guys got to be as flexible as I have to be, and just understand. So I try to answer their questions, and if I don't know, I say, you know what, I'll find you the answer. And that just, you know what, that just gives them a little bit of a comfort zone.
Yeah, that's a good point. I like what you said about you have a job to do and we have a job to do. Then you kind of feel like, wow, I do actually have a role in this. I actually have some ownership.
Mhm.
You know, when Transfinder went remote, which was March 13th, it was a Friday, Tony had met with every single group. Our CEO, Tony Servatel, met with every single group individually and gave kind of a pep talk, but also kind of a big picture. No one knew how long this was going to be. I think I don't know, but it might have been a few weeks that we'd all be back together again. But he said, you all have a job to do. You all were hired for a certain job. If everyone just does their job, we're going to get through this, you know? And it kind of sounds like the same thing, Laurie. Everyone just does,
Yep.
what they're, hired to do, or in the case of the kids, what their responsibility as students is. We all kind of get through this. We can't look at what the other guy. And you also talked a little bit, I think one of you mentioned having patience with your colleagues. Who was it that said that yesterday? Was that you, Belinda? Talk a little bit about that as well.
Well, it's important to, especially on I don't know if anyone's ever been to our district, we're very large, but our campus is a little small. With a lot of parents now wanting to transport, we're going to have a lot of extra traffic on the road. I think it's really important, and like Laurie had mentioned, things are changing day to day. So I think it's very important that we're patient with each other, and we're patient with the administrators at the schools and the school staff, because they have a whole nother set of guidelines they may be following and things they may be navigating through, and we need to remember that we need to work together and just be patient, take a breath, and just get through it together.
That's really good. That's a good reminder. Now, we talked also, so I talked a little bit about what you wish parents knew about you and your role that you have this year. And then I moved a little bit, and we'll talk a little bit about what you wish your administration would know about both transportation, but also specifically your role as a school bus driver, especially going into this year. So give me a sense of what, it sounds like you all have very good, your supervisors had a role and had a seat at the table. That was one of the things that, not every district did. Some districts literally were just kind of handed like, here's what we're doing. And transportation really wasn't part of that decision, just to kind of say, well, here's how routing works, and logistically, how are we going to, this plan is a little bit more difficult had we not been at the table. But what do you wish your districts knew about your role going into this new school year? I'll start with Laurie.
I think our district, our board, our superintendent really understands what we do and how we do it, because he does incorporate us into everything. My boss, she goes to every meeting that they usually have. So we're not blindsided by anything. And I got to say, it's really great how they, as well as transportation, we're not kept separate. We know exactly what's going on through emails. We're very well informed. And I mean, anything we do, I believe they pretty much already know how we go about it and how we do it.
That's great. How about you, Belinda? I know you're superintendent because he's in our backyard and he's very active. And I know he has a great relationship with your transportation supervisor.
He does, and Al, our director, is really great too. And we were fortunate enough because we did have a seat at the table whenever there were meetings. Obviously, Al would be involved in that, and then Al would put together a little team in the transportation department and bring back that information and say, okay, how can we do this? This is what they're looking to do. And then he would bring us in those meetings even. So there was a couple times we even got to sit in those meetings. And they, said to us, how can you do this? This is what we need. How can you do it? And we would tell them, like, this isn't going to work. And they would be okay with that and say, okay, let's figure it out then. So it was great that we were able to work together with the school and with the transportation, because, as many of you probably know, what works for the schools doesn't always work for us, and vice versa. So we actually were lucky enough to be able to sit down with everybody and try and come up with the plan that worked best for everybody.
That's great. Al has been on several of our webinars in the past, and he has one quote that stands out to me, which was, so Al, for those of you who don't know, is a Marine. I don't say former Marine. He's not, I don't think currently, but you're never an ex-Marine. But his line that I really liked was, when the lights go back on, it's not going to be transportation that keeps school from opening. And I just thought that always really stood out. Tom likes that. So anyway, high regard. So others, Kristi, Tom, Dan, what do you want? And maybe your superintendent already knows this and the administration knows, but what do you want to make sure that it's important that they know about the role you play as a school bus driver and transportation in general?
Well, we're very lucky. Our superintendent has an open door policy. You can get a hold of her at any time, day or night, it seems like. Very open to suggesting things, and very open to realizing that they may not work after our transportation supervisor kind of tweaks it a little bit. Even as of right now, I just saw a group walk out the window that are working on loading and unloading at the beginning of the day and unloading. It's still changing, and a lot of patience. I know that she's going to even know more about the transportation department, because her husband, she recruited to be a sub bus driver. So he's in the process of getting that licensing done. So she may hear even more about the transportation department.
That's great. That's excellent. How about you, Tom?
Yeah, I mean, I feel lucky that we at least I feel supported by our administration. Obviously our conduit to the administration is my direct supervisor, Bill Harvey. And he's on every committee you can probably think about within the school. He knows bus driving. He loves to substitute bus driving on those days when we're short drivers. So he's a great advocate for us to speak with the board, administrators, and that. So and he listens to us. I mean, I know they did put together an advisory committee, for reopening and all that kind of stuff. So it is a two-way conversation.
That's great. That's awesome. Well, I wanted to make sure we close with this, something I like to do, and I didn't give you guys a heads up on this, so I think it might have been in my notes maybe, but I don't think so. So you got to think on your feet. But when we have these webinars, we want to make sure we always close with a takeaway. One takeaway that could be beneficial to anybody. We have a lot of attendees. By the way, a unique thing happened in today's webinar. The numbers kept going up. Instead of usually as time goes on, you might get somebody who drops off because they have to go to lunch or they have to go to a meeting, whatever. But instead, the numbers kept, I was kind of watching it. I was listening though, but the numbers kept going up throughout the discussion. So that's kind of neat. Anyway, you always want to make sure that an attendee can maybe have one or two takeaways. Maybe it's just something that's reflective. So that's one, or something that they can bring back to their office and tell, their supervisor or a superintendent, or maybe it's just something that they're going to do when they go and meet with a parent in that first bus run, whatever it may be. So I'm going to just ask Dan, if you're on still, if maybe you can give us one takeaway that you would want those who have been part of today's, who have attended today's webinar to take with them. So I'll start with you. What's one takeaway you want someone to have?
That, we all stay positive and we all work as a team. Between the parents and the drivers and the schools, we all need to be a team. So I'm going to make a win out of this.
That's very good. Tony, our boss, puts out a note every night to the entire company. And one of the things he had in one note was about how, in football, you have an offensive team, you have the defense, you have the special units. But at the end of the day, they're still all one team, and they all work together. They don't work against each other. So you have drivers, you have routers, you have dispatch, you have, principals, but at the end of the day, and as Belinda talked about regarding being patient with one another, is that we're all on the same team together. So that's a great takeaway. Thank you, Dan. I'll go with you, Laurie, next. One takeaway.
You know what? I guess this is for my kids. They, when they get on the bus, I tell them, I go, I'm the boss now, but because you coming back to school and you doing what you do, someday you're going to be the boss and you may be my boss. And you know what? You just take the worst what you can, step forward, make the best out of it. And I say, let's go back to school 110%.
That's awesome. That's great. Kristi, takeaway.
So I think my takeaway would have to be that we have been working like every other district since the end of May on trying to get a reopening plan. What's going to be safe, what can we do? Right now, we're kind of in a hot spot in Illinois. Our numbers are going up, and we've tried to adjust as that happens. It looks good on paper. Come Thursday morning, when we get kids picking up and we get classrooms opened up, there's going to be some things that we're going to have to tweak. There's going to be some things that aren't going to go right, but we'll get it done together. It'll come. Be patient with it. Know that there's things going to go wrong, and just learn from them, and we'll get it fixed, and everything's going to be okay.
I like what you just said at the very end, know that things are going to go wrong. That's not like, I don't mean in a pessimistic way. You didn't say in a pessimistic way or a Murphy's Law kind of way, maybe a little bit Murphy. But the idea, you know what? Things are probably not going to work out perfectly. And when you have that almost, it helps you reduce that expectation level of, because we can be sometimes, I can be at least, have such a high expectation. And then I get frustrated and I get impatient and all those other things. But if you kind of go in and knowing, you know what, we're doing the best we can, but this is going to probably have some hiccups, and that's okay. That's
Right.
really good.
Right.
Belinda, how about you? What's your takeaway?
Yeah, I liked what Kristi said, and I'm going to kind of steal that a little bit, but I agree. Just, remember to breathe. You're going to set the tone for your bus, so remain calm. Things aren't going to go as planned, and that's okay. But everyone's going to get to where they need to get to safely. And at the end of the day, that's what your job is. So no matter how you got there, and that's all that mattered. So just stay calm and remember to breathe.
That's good. That's good. My son is a pitcher, and even like in Little League, and now we actually play on our church softball team together as well. And he likes to rapid pitch. So like, the ball comes back I'm the catcher. I got hurt this year, and so the minute he gets the ball back, he starts pitching again. He doesn't take any time. But sometimes I'm like, you need to breathe, because you're so into it that you can kind of lose your focus. You can almost, it can be too much. You just need to stop and take a breath. It's actually really cleansing. I know it sounds kind of corny, but it can be. Thomas, close us out with a takeaway.
All right.
Most time to think about it. It better be really good.
So I think the panelists and all the drivers that I drive with, the one thing about their job that they love the most is their relationship with the kids. That goes over years or whatever. I think it would be easy to let masks and regulations or whatever kind of get in the way of that relationship. But I'm going to do the best I can to try and maintain, that connection. There's, you all have experience, like there's nothing sweeter than a second grader hanging back and getting off the bus and tells you he's going to get a bunny in 2 days. I mean, that's the kind of stuff. That's why I do the job. And that I have to remember and not get lost in this sterile environment. So
that is outstanding. That was great. Thank you so much, Tom. Well, I want to thank all of you, Tom, Belinda, Dan, Laurie, and Kristi, for taking time out. I know, Kristi, you're 2 days away from D-Day here. So I just want to thank all of you. That's delivery day. delivering the students to school day. I want to just thank you all for taking time, and I do hope that people can get the word out that this is available. I think that this might be a valuable, of all the webinars we've done, this is the first one where we literally featured the people who are actually transporting the kids. And I think it was, you guys represented your colleagues extremely well today. And I just want to thank you so much. Before we go, I just want to encourage anybody out there who has a story. You know, we build these webinars and we also have a lot of white papers on our best practices page. They all come from you. So when you share us a story, then again, this doesn't have to be a Transfinder client. This can be any school district in North America, that how you're doing things. Maybe you have an innovative approach, just something that's worked for you. Maybe you've had a change in the way you did things, and that mindset might be helpful for us also to look at. All I'm asking is that you send us a note to mystory@transfinder.com, and we will contact you. And it may either be a white paper, or you might be a panelist on a webinar, or both. So I just want to thank you for doing that in advance. And also I just want to encourage you to know that we are not, you know, we want to continue on with these best practices, because we really do believe, just as you've all mentioned that we're all in this together, I really believe that the transportation industry, school transportation industry, is very much a family. And again, I know I sounded maybe a little bit corny, but I know from going to the various trade shows, I see a lot of camaraderie. I see a lot of sharing of ideas. You know, we see it at our own, we have a thing called Transfinder University, how not only is it our instructors that are teaching, but oftentimes it's our clients teaching each other. Well, yeah, that's a good way to do it, but you might want to try this. And then they've kind of created their own shortcuts and tips and tricks. So I think that that's what this is all about. So we're going to continue on with these webinars so that we can get as many of these great, you know, best practices out there in people's hands as possible. So with that being said, I just want to thank everybody who attended, took time to listen, and stay tuned for the next best practices. If you go onto our webpage, transfinder.com, or if you've signed up for this, then you'll be getting emails as well about when we'll have our next best practice. Until then, I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.